Welcome to the Not Your Average Investor Show. We are live on Facebook. I am your host, Pablo Gonzalez. With me, as always, the man they call GC, because it's a good call to hang out with him, Greg Cohen. Welcome, Greg.
Pablo, what's up, my friend? Hello, everybody. Good to be with you. Super excited for the show today.
I'm pretty excited too, man, because I really want to peel back the curtain here on what's going on with this container project. If you don't know, if you've been under a rock somewhere, JWB has been building these container apartment buildings in the downtown urban core. It's an R&D project for JWB. So welcome. We're going to talk about that today. If this is your first time joining us, you should know that this is an interactive call. We want you asking questions. We want you interacting with us. We welcome the engagement. And there's two ways to do that. Number one, if you hit that chat button, text box is going to pop up, but that text box above it, it says panelists in blue. I want you to drop that down and make it panelists and attendees so that everybody else can see what you're talking about. You can make a new friend. You can make a friend with Sean, Jake, Marilyn, Bill. Bill, welcome. Afternoon, buddy. And if you want a question answered on the show, if you want me to ask Greg or you want me to ask Alex, who's going to join us here shortly, Alex Sifakis, another co-founder of the other co-founder of JWB.
Also known as the B team, right? We got the A team and the B team, right?
No, I'm not stepping into that wormhole right there. But
it's so fun when he's not around.
It's easy. Yeah, I know him as the dreamer, the Tasmanian devil, you know, the troublemaker, right? Like the visionary Alex Sifakis, who will join us. Pop open that. Oh, he's got Cheryl Herrick. Welcome, Cheryl. Pop open that Q&A box, and that is where you put in the best way for me to keep track of these questions. Because what's going to happen, if you haven't been here before, our regulars know this, is that chat box gets pretty busy and it scrolls up while the Q&A stays real present in front of me, and I'm able to kind of cycle through, make sure I'm answering your questions. The other little piece of housekeeping, so that we can just get started right now, is if this is your first time here and you just want to know more about rental income properties and the hedgehog of what JWB does, what they're better than anybody else in the world at, these turnkey rental income properties. We have a live class that Greg put together at jwbclass.com. If you go there and register, it comes with the free investor toolkit. It comes with a property evaluation and other properties to look at. It's a time well spent if you want to learn the business model. And if you're ready to invest, maybe you're not ready to invest, but maybe you want some personalized advice on your exact situation, go to chatwithjwb.com. That'll take you straight to a calendar link. You can book a call with the team. It's super, super helpful. Not salesy at all. I've been through it recently. It's fantastic. And without further ado, Greg, let's talk about these container projects, man.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Listen, first of all, I see you checking your phone. Is Alex coming? Is that what's going on?
We don't know.
We don't know. Right. He's the wild card. He's
texting me. He's having computer download issues at the moment. We have never let IT problems stop us. We're not going to let them stop us now. So
that's right.
Yeah, he may join us. He may not. We're all good.
That's what I like about Alex. He keeps it exciting. But what I like about you, Greg, is that you are a super consistent dude. I know you are the personification of this like hedgehog philosophy. So the first thing I want to ask you is, when Alex came up, oh, there he is. What's
up?
There he is.
Hey, having computer difficulties. I hopped on my phone, so hopefully this works.
You look fantastic, Alex. No worries at all.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, listen, I just want to kind of get a backstory of how this project came about, right? Like, I know that, in fact, let's make the best use of the time from your end, Alex. We'll get the backstory from Greg later on, but how did you come up with this, man? Like, how did this enter your brain and you decided that you wanted to pull this thing off?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always researching, ideas for real estate, and something I've been really interested in is just the fact that construction really hasn't changed in 100 years. And so I was just researching, potential disruptors for real estate construction, and, the shipping containers came up. So I did a ton of research in 2015 and 2016 and talked to all the experts, and it wasn't the right time for it. And then it was about 2 years ago now, I went back to the guys, and I had already kind of figured out the model and the plan a couple of years before and updated it. And we decided to go ahead and test it out and make the project happen. So just, always looking to figure out ways to push the envelope and deliver great projects or great returns to JWB and our clients. And this was seemed like a good idea.
Always on brand, pushing the envelope. So can you describe the project itself? Right. I know that we got 40 people here. Some of us have heard of it. Some of us haven't. Just give me a little detail on it.
Yeah. So it's 18 units. Each unit is its own shipping container. So there's 18 shipping containers that we're stacking 3 stories high and putting on it's a single lot in downtown Jacksonville. So it's in an area of downtown Jacksonville called the Cathedral District, about 4 or 5 blocks from the main city core. And so, I mean, if you run those numbers, the lot is about 50 by 100, 18 units. So it's about 150 units an acre. So a really, really dense development, which is great. You know, that's what you want in a downtown area. And so basically there's 2 stair towers going up on each side. And the building is actually shaped like an H. So you've got containers lined up like the legs of the H, and then the center of the H is corridor containers. So, and interior, I mean, if you walk into one of these units and it looks like a high-end hotel room inside. So we did granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, full appliance package. You know, we've got place for big screen TVs, but it's just in a really, really small package. So you got about 320 square feet. So it looks like a high-end hotel room, and it's a little bit smaller than the size of most of them.
Interesting. So listen, when I lived in Miami and Wynwood, I was actually helping develop one of these container hotels as well. So a hotel, right? Not an apartment complex. So I'm familiar with kind of the dimensions. Talk to me about, let's talk details first, right? Like financially, is this less expensive to do than regular construction, more expensive? What were your projections on the financials, and what's it looking like right now?
Yeah, well, the projections are a lot different than how it turned out in reality. So, you know, we thought that we could get these built for about 50 grand a unit. And it turned out we're gonna be closer to 90 grand a unit. So we ran into a ton of complications on the construction. And, you know, the first time you do anything, you learn a lot. And it was a really complicated process just because we were building the original concept was we're gonna build these in a factory, completely built out, and just ship them to site and click it all together. And the apartment complex is actually modular. So if in 10 years there's a different highest and best use for the site and you wanted to build a skyscraper, you could actually take the apartment complex and move it to a different site. That was the whole concept. But to do that, every piece has to be exact from the beginning because you can't really do site adjustments. And so that layered on a ton of complexity. We changed engineers 3 different times. The company that we had originally contracted to build the containers themselves turned out that they could not do it. And we ended up building them in the parking lot of our general contractor. So nothing on this project went how it was supposed to. But we're still getting it built, and we're excited for it to, you know, add 18 new units to downtown Jacksonville.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you know, Alex, 18 units on one single lot is incredible for density, like you were talking about. Can you talk about why this is such a big win for Jacksonville? Obviously, that's a big reason why we're doing this. It's not just for a benefit of JWB or from a financial perspective. It's a huge win for the community. So can you talk about why density is so important to achieving the ultimate goals for downtown Jacksonville?
Yeah, I mean, density is really important because, you know, the more people you have living in an area, especially in an urban environment, then the more retail and restaurants and bars and stores that can support. And the more restaurants and retail and bars and restaurants you have, the more desirable an area becomes. So it starts feeding on itself. So that density is a really critical component to get the commercial that you need to make the area more desirable. You make it more desirable, then rents will go up and you will get more residential built because the economics can work on the deal. So it's really critical to hit that tipping point, which, you know, downtown we're trying to get to about 10,000 residents is really that goal. And, you know, 18 it's not going to get us all the way there, but every little bit helps. And the fact that we're getting 150 units an acre on a project is great.
Yeah, and the more density that we get, the more people we get living downtown, the more that commercial is in retail blossoms in downtown, and it becomes this walkable and urban environment in downtown, which is really what we need to attract the best talent. So as Jacksonville continues to grow and become more and more of a main staple on the map here, that talent force is going to be attracted to a thriving and urban walkable downtown. So that's really what we can accomplish by projects just like this one.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's exciting. All right. So Alex, I want to pick your brain in two different areas right now. The first one is the idea that I know that you're an outside of the box thinker, and I know that this project, when I bring it up, creates a ton of buzz.
Yeah.
Right. So I was listening to the Gary Vee podcast recently, and he told the story of a CMO sitting in front of him saying, listen, man, my main concern with hiring you guys is that I feel like if I tell you to walk in this room, you're going to run through that glass wall instead of opening that door. And, how can you make me feel okay about that? And Gary just looks at him and goes, yeah, but the story of me running through that glass wall is something you're going to tell forever, right? Like was the idea that this is going to be such a buzz and such a big splash part of your overall reasoning for bringing this to the table and doing it on top of all the benefits to downtown and all these things?
Yeah, I mean, when we started the project, it was actually a much smaller percentage of why we were doing the project, and it's turned out that the response to it has even surpassed what we thought it would. I mean, 8-9 months ago, there was an article on News4Jax, and they posted something on their social media, and it had 2,000 comments and a couple hundred shares, which was just unbelievable. And it's really funny because people have a visceral reaction to shipping containers. So out of those 2,000 comments, 50% of people said it was the dumbest thing they'd ever seen in their life, and 50% of people said they wanted to live in it now. So with only 18 units and 1,000 people on social media that said they wanted to rent it, I think we're in a pretty good spot to get it filled up. But it definitely has become something that people talk about, and there's a lot of buzz around it, which is great. Just that people understand that there are projects happening downtown, and that buzz is helpful. So.
I mean, you talk around town, and when I go out and I see people that I'm acquaintances with or friends or whatnot, it's kind of what JWB has become known for in a lot of the circles who at least read the Jacksonville Daily Record or the Jacksonville Business Journal. It's like, oh, JWB, yeah, shipping containers, which is cool.
Like,
I mean,
0.1% everything we've ever. But
you talk to anybody on my team, we never talk shipping containers inside the office. One of the beautiful things is that Alex and my other business partner, Adam, and Katie and just a couple people on our team are really responsible for putting this whole thing together. The other 77 people at JWB do nothing when it comes to shipping containers, but the buzz has been really noteworthy. And for us, it's important for us to be innovating. It's important for us to figure out what's coming next in downtown Jacksonville, because if we think about why we're successful and why our clients are successful, we need to make sure that we have opportunities that they can invest with us, right? We need to be on the forefront, and whether that's figuring out how we can acquire enough land so that we always have cash flowing opportunities, or maybe thinking about innovative ways to build properties like you're seeing with shipping containers. Our commitment is to be a few steps ahead here in Jacksonville. We are not of the mindset that we're going to go to every other market out there and try to replicate, our turnkey cash flowing rental properties. It's just a different strategy. So this is a pretty cool opportunity. It's nice to be kind of known as an innovator here when it comes to projects like this in downtown.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, right? Like it's so funny to me that you've been on the front page of the Wall Street Journal twice, and yet locally here, it's that news article about shipping containers in downtown. And I got to think that it doesn't just elevate JWB's profile; it elevates Jacksonville's profile to have such an innovative thing going on downtown. And I know that that's a big piece of the equation. It's the overall benefit to Jacksonville. And Lee Bishop asks, is this one of the first projects of its kind in Florida, or are there other ones in Florida that you've seen?
There has been other shipping container projects for sure in Florida. And I'm pretty sure there's been in some other residential projects. But this was the first one that I'd seen anywhere in the country that was built completely modularly. So there's been a lot of projects that have built where the shipping containers are used as building blocks and they're welded together. It becomes a permanent structure. This is the first one that I'd researched where the whole entire complex can be taken apart and moved to some other site. So that was the real innovation that we were doing. And this is to the US. This has been done in Europe and in other countries for a long time, using shipping containers as housing. And I think one of the main reasons why it works in a lot of other areas of the country, and in other areas of the world, is because construction costs are a lot higher in some of those places. Where in Jacksonville, construction costs are pretty low compared to the rest of the country and the world, which is one of the reasons why we can build homes and we can get great cash flowing investments where a lot of other markets can't. And so that can make it potentially why it has, proliferated in those other areas sooner than it has here in Florida and in Jacksonville.
Bringing that up reminds me of the other thing that I want to talk to you about. And it's the idea that you wanted to build this alternative kind of material to bring the cost down, to bring density. Have you looked at disrupting the way the actual JWB homes are built? Like, have you looked at alternative systems for delivering homes and lowering construction costs and making stuff modulars for the actual rental properties that JWB offers?
Yeah, so we do. We look at that about every 2 years. We go, because at some point it makes sense that the price point on modular will come down where it can be, just traditionally stick frame construction, but we haven't reached that point yet in Florida here. So it's still cheaper to build how we do, with traditional construction methods in the field. So yeah, we look at it. We're always staying on it. I mean, I'm talking to other companies that are innovating. I mean, there's a company that is run by somebody that we're friends with that is 3D printing houses out of concrete in Mexico, and they're building these 400 square foot houses for $16,000 a house finished. So there's a lot of exciting things going on. The shipping container is one of them. There's some other really interesting concepts through robotics and 3D printing, but none of them are to a point where it can beat currently plain old, conventionally framed construction here in Jacksonville. So.
Gotcha. So Alex, lessons learned, right? Like if you were to do this over again, what would you do differently? What would you do the same? Have you downloaded that yet?
Yeah, I think the main thing is just to make sure that we're working with people that have done it before. So, I said we went through, 3 different engineers. The engineer that we finally settled on, all they do is shipping containers. And we should have, instead of trying to use someone locally, we should have just used the expert from the get-go. And I think that's the biggest lesson. And also the company that we were using to build the containers, they had done this before, but not at the scale that we were looking for. So I think, and this is a lesson learned that we've learned the hard way many, many times before. And I continually, don't listen to my own advice, but finding someone who's an expert and can show you that they've repeated this process over and over again. I wish we would have done that from the get-go on this project. We would have probably saved a bunch of time and headache. So eventually I will actually learn that lesson and follow it.
Good luck with that. All right, real quick, Mike Foster asks in the questions, I came in a few minutes late, I may have missed it, but do you have any concept drawings to show what these completed shipping containers might look like inside and out? Is it safe to say that we're going to be able to post some of this stuff inside the JWB Facebook group?
I'm gonna have to hop off a little bit early, but I think Cohen has a slideshow that he was gonna run through pretty quickly and show you guys what they look like.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Greg, were you gonna say something about that?
Well, I do. So, in the background, Pablo, where we usually have those links on our doc, there's that link there, and that should have, 3 or 4 different slides so people can get a visual, can see the renderings, and then also see the inside pictures as well.
I was wondering what that link was, and I actually clicked it, and now I'm pulling it up. Great. Sean Pointer, who is one half of the greatest spike ball team that ever graced Atlantic Beach on Sunday mornings, Team Cobra, asks, will you be selling the container units or renting them out?
I can probably take that one, Alex. I know you got to jump off, don't you, buddy?
Yeah. I'll run. I think you guys, Cohen, you can take it from here. But thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure.
Always the pleasure is ours, Alex. Thank you, man.
See you, buddy. So Sean's question, are we going to be selling these? One of the things that we do, especially for anything that's new, and this is definitely something new for JWB, is we're always going to put our own money into it before we would make it available to sell to clients. It's just the way we think it's the right way to do things, so that we can take the risk and all that good stuff. So that's what we're doing here. But there are some other challenges. I don't know if this will turn into turnkey properties in the future or whatnot. I mean, there's there's challenges when it comes to financing on shipping containers that you may or may not run into versus normal, turnkey properties the way we normally do it. So we're still trying to figure all that out. So this apartment complex is owned by JWB. It will be rented out, and we're actually starting to rent it. 9 of the units will be normal long-term leases, and then 9 of the units will actually be short-term leases, vacation rentals, which is, again, something that we don't do very often. We're literally just trying it out because there are this many vacation rentals offered in downtown Jacksonville at the moment. So everything about this project is not normal for JWB. It's a flyer. We're trying it out in a number of different ways. And then we'll learn from it. And then maybe at some point in the future, it could potentially become something that clients could invest in, but not at the moment.
Interesting. And listen, I know that you purposely tried to test me with this link over here that we didn't talk about, but I got it downloaded. You want to go through the project right now?
Yeah, let's show people just a few of the renderings and all that good stuff here.
Actually, hold on. Let me optimize a better share. I learned this trick last time.
Ooh.
Screen for better. Boom. All right.
Oh my goodness. So optimized now.
Listen, this is so that when we repurpose this
is your desktop, by the way.
You see my desktop. All right, let's do that again then. All right, here we go.
Optimize minus the optimize.
Optimize minus the optimize. No, this is so that, like when we repurpose and sometimes your head comes chopped off, I figured out how to fix that. It's this.
Oh,
are we clear?
We are good.
All right, buddy.
Yeah, so this is a visual of where the shipping container apartments are in relation to downtown Jacksonville. So this is the north bank of Jacksonville. You can kind of see some skyscrapers there in the bottom left-hand corner of it. So we're within, a quarter mile of the skyscrapers in downtown Jacksonville. If you go all the way off to the right side of the screen, you see Everbank Field Stadium where the Jacksonville Jaguars play. And you see a couple of our other, you see ViStar Memorial, the Memorial Stadium, you see the baseball stadium right there. And then the Shipyards is a project that has generated a lot of buzz downtown as well. This is something that hopefully in the next, let's call it 3 to 5 to 8 years is a major project for downtown development that will get online. And so you see our shipping container projects right there in the heart of it. It's in the Cathedral District in downtown Jacksonville. And, certainly in the path of progress there.
All right. I'm going to bring in Zach Correa's question here. Zach asks, aloha, Greg. Aloha, Zach. I understand that Cathedral District Jax is the area where the new development will be built. Since it's near the core of downtown, surrounded by historic cathedrals and buildings where some of them are dilapidated and empty, are there any concerns? I believe in progress in a positive way, but that doesn't mean that people will want to live in an upscale container apartment or home. For some, it will take time getting used to the idea of a shipping container home, but it is exciting about the enhancements to the city. What is your target demographics, i.e. business folks who work downtown or millennials, or do you know who you're aiming this for?
Zach, you bring up a lot of really great questions that I don't have the answers to. You asked, is this something that's going to, be appealing for folks that are living downtown, shipping containers? I don't have any data points to point to. We think so, though. Just generating the type of buzz that we have. We probably had close to 15 articles or interviews about this here locally about this project. And the running joke here at JWB is, our team gets mad at Alex whenever he gets another interview or another article written about. I say this in jest, but we get mad at him because we get like 150 people that call the office and say, hey, I want to rent these apartments. And of course, they're not ready to be rented yet. So, it's generating a lot of buzz. I think we're in a good spot, but it's something that's new. You talked about how the Cathedral District does have a lot of dilapidated buildings and whatnot, and that's very real. This is a reason why JWB is taking this opportunity to own this and rent this out ourselves rather than bring it to clients right now. It's not in the ideal location for consistent cash flowing rental properties. You guys hear me talk a lot about why we put you in the neighborhoods we do. Well, this is not that ideal neighborhood for you right now. It may be in 3 years or 5 years, but this is JWB taking on that risk. And that's the way we always do that. And I'm not sure about the other question that you had. I think it was, Oh,
I think
man.
it was Greg. I think it was target audience, and maybe I can
Yeah,
shed a
is
little
that
bit
what
of
it
light on that, right? Like having been, part of some of these projects in the past, and who it goes to, there's a solid amount of data that shows that millennials and people younger than that are looking to live in urban cores. They're looking to minimize the space that they have to rent, that they have to furnish, because what they like to do is be outside, right? Like they like to be walking the things and whatnot. And I've seen it, I've lived it in Miami. I've seen it firsthand in Berlin and a couple of other places that I traveled to because my wife's an architect and an urban designer.
Mhm.
The idea that, creating these small spaces that have some kind of like hip trend twist to it will attract certain demographics like artists and young people and whatnot that just want to be in these like dense urban cores. And they're usually, to JWB's credit, right? Like you're taking the risk of developing it, and then the residents that want this kind of like chic innovation kind of feel are the pioneers of the neighborhood. So, if I were to extrapolate what this is going to look like, Zach, I believe that this will probably attract that demographic, right? Younger people that kind of like thrive on that grit of an urban downtown, which has been proven to be valuable, and artists and stuff like that. And once they settle there, it's going to bring other people that are going to want to invest in the buildings around it, because now there's customers to sell to and there's retail businesses that are going to want to start. Just a guess.
I love that. That works.
I got you, man. All right. So Greg, you want to keep talking us through it? So here is I see the kind of L shape that he talked about. That's like 3 units high.
Mhm.
And then this is the living apartments, I'm guessing.
Yep, that's right. That's
All
right.
right.
So three stories high, and you've got a nice courtyard in the center there. Um, so yeah, it's pretty innovative. But you can also see that this is something that works on a very small lot
Yeah.
and looks really nice.
Yeah. Looks very cool. And then here's some of the construction. Oh, look at this. This is the pictures of them going up. I mean, these just look like legit shipping containers that came off of a Maersk ship and they put it in, huh? Like as advertised, huh?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so that was taken a couple of weeks ago on the left-hand side there. We were digging out this ridiculous amount of land in order to make sure that they're secured. And then we brought one of the units over and built it. That's what you're seeing on the right-hand side there. Then we wanted to make sure that we could stack the other one on top. Of course, this was all planned ahead of time, but you got to make sure it works in the field. So then we stacked another unit on top. That's what you see on the right-hand side there. And then since then, it's been, bringing more units over and getting closer and closer to the finished product there.
Hmm. I have a question. How much land is a ridiculous amount of land? Is that a metric or an English system?
It's, it's definitely, I don't know. It's whatever you think,
Yeah,
we use
yeah.
it. We use it quite often around here in Jacksonville.
I like it. I like it. No, speaking of ridiculous, these finishes look really nice. So I'm assuming that that's not what's there right now, right? Like this is just what the proposed finishes are going to look like.
No, that's it. That's an interior. So we had one of the units that's completely finished and we staged that and it is ready to rock and roll. So that is actually what inside of one of these looks like.
Very cool. Very cool. So yeah, so on the outside, it really looks like it came off of a boat. And then on the inside, it looks like it came in like Soho, New York or something.
Well, and you're going to see the outside, of course, look better on the, as we finish up the complete, apartment complex. And then we also have plans for a mural on one of the sides as well. So, this is definitely going to be a value from how it looks from the outside perspective to downtown. It's going to be something that's not just creating buzz, but it's really going to look nice on the outside and the inside.
Beautiful. I love how you guys, I mean, this is going to be your second mural, I guess, or had you done, right? So there's the Arlington mural and now you guys are interesting, man.
Following that formula, and I know you know it well, right? When you have an opportunity to bring art into this type of a project, it's something that, quite honestly, it's not that expensive, right? But it creates so much impact, right? It's so much positives come from it that it's almost a no-brainer to do when you have an opportunity like this and you have a huge side-facing wall and something like this downtown project. So yeah, we're excited about it.
That's awesome. I got a question here from Marilyn Cotterman. It's a pretty technical question. Marilyn Cotterman from Homosassa, Florida.
Home of the Manatees.
Home of the Manatees. Welcome, Marilyn. It's great to have you here. She says, I'm confused. Did a company build new containers for JWB? I think she, let's give the scope of what we're talking about real quick so we can continue the discussion for everybody that joined us late.
Yeah. So these were shipping containers that we purchased. I believe they were used once before. I think that's how the shipping container industry works. You can either buy brand new containers, or you can buy, I think, once used containers or whatever they call it, or you can buy containers that have been used multiple times and whatnot. I think we settled on once used. And so we use these containers. Wait a second. We built some of the containers inside. You know what? I might be confusing myself. I don't know. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that one. I know for a while there were certain elements of it that we were taking some containers that we had to use. You know what? I'm gonna have to get back to you on that one. I don't know.
You know, I think you digested that question differently than I took it. I think Marilyn was just saying, so this is a company that I'm sure there's a company that furnishes these containers, and that's their whole thing. And then JWB is acting as a general contractor essentially, or you're acting as a land developer or the GC that hires all this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I was getting tripped up on how much of this is built modularly and how much is taking into the factory to build it. So that's just where I'm a little bit confused. I'm not sure if we started with like a shell and then built it on top of that or not. So that's what I'm just not sure of. But yes, what you're saying is we're the developer, right? We hire the general contractor who actually constructs this. We're doing this modularly. And then the finished product is brought to the site, just kind of like you guys saw in those pictures there. And then, of course, from there, we do the staging and all that other good stuff.
There you go. They call him GC because he gets containers. All right. Lee Bishop asks, and maybe you know this, maybe you don't. Are they going to have city water or septic? Do you know that?
I don't know that one.
Okay.
I don't know.
Guillermo Montes asks, as you see the ships from China stacking up 10 to 15 containers up, can you do similar with these apartments? I'd imagine that you don't know how high these things can go, right? Like,
you know, I don't know what the limitations are. I mean, this is in downtown Jacksonville where you have, you know, skyscrapers. So I don't know if there are specific limitations for the cathedral district, but I know from a cost perspective, stacking them becomes really, really costly. You know, and talking with Alex, some of the things that we learned is that, you know, if we wanted to make sure that these were lowering the construction costs, if we didn't stack the containers, that would have been an element of being able to do that. And while you might not be able to get, you know, 18 units on a 50 by 100 lot, you might be able to get 3, right? Or 4 or whatever. So you might get some element of density, which still makes it more affordable for the housing. So I don't know. I don't think that there's any limitations as far as how we could go, but really cost is a big limiter when it comes to this project.
that makes sense. And, you know, it's obviously cost and zoning. I've seen them go as high as 6. Like, I know that the one that I was working on in Miami for a hotel was 6 high, right? So like, you know, I know they can at least do that. Katie Derringer in the comments puts in that they're city water / sewer, right? Thank you, Katie, for filling it in. And Louis, I don't know how to pronounce Lewis's last name. And maybe it's Louis Mange or Louis Magni. Asks in the comments, my real estate investments being handled by JWB. Is JWB separating its investment dollars from this speculation play?
Is JWB separating its investment dollars? So
yeah, so he's asking how isolated this speculation play for JWB is from investor money that they've invested with you is how I'm taking this question.
Oh, I understand. So if you're a turnkey investor, you own your individual property first and foremost. So if you are one of our clients who's purchased over 2,000 houses with us since 2006, this is completely separate from everything you're doing. You don't buy into a fund with JWB to purchase turnkey rental properties. So that's completely separate. That's our hedgehog. That's what we do. What we're talking about here with the shipping container project is something that is basically about 10% of what we do at JWB is what we call opportunistic. It's what's coming next. And so that's really kind of this glimpse is just, you know, if we're thinking about what's coming next in the next 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, this is a type of thing that we're doing today to figure it out for the future. And when it comes to other investments, you know, private lending and things of that nature, private lending can be lent on any number of projects. It doesn't happen to be on this project. But you know, that private lending is where you are lending and you're the bank in essence to fund a project for JWB. So those types of projects can be on downtown development projects or some of these more opportunistic projects as well. But as far as turnkey rental properties, totally something different.
So let's dive into that opportunistic piece of it, Greg. I hear in past calls that we've had, right? We talk about how the difference between JWB and everybody else is that JWB is here for the long run, right? Instead of being an inch, an inch deep and a mile wide in different markets and looking for different markets, you are committed to Jacksonville for the next 100 years, right? Um, how does this? Can you kind of contextualize how this investment fits into the long-term plan of the fact that JWB is not going anywhere and you're always going to seek out opportunities in Jacksonville?
Well, we have to. We have to be on the cutting edge of where the opportunities are in Jacksonville because of the choices that we make as a company, right? We have the opportunity. We get approached pretty much every week by somebody saying, "Hey, why don't you come and replicate the turnkey rental property process and property management process in another market here, in another market there?" And that is one strategy that a lot of our competitors do. We don't feel that's the best thing for our clients or for JWB as a company. We think the approach that is best for everybody is that we focus on Jacksonville and we go a mile deep rather than a mile wide and going to all these other markets. And if we do that, well, we need to make sure that we have enough investments here in Jacksonville to be able to provide for clients, because we are strategically going into this and saying we're not going to take what might be an easier route of just going and finding another market out there. So to do that, we have to be on the cutting edge. So we've done this a few times now. And clients today are the beneficiaries of what we've done 3 years, 5 years, 10 years ago. Pablo, we talk a lot about new construction properties, right? Well, before 2011, nobody was building new construction properties and then renting those out, and those would become turnkey cash flow positive rental properties. But in 2011, Alex led the charge on our team to figure out that new construction was something that we could basically do. It would be wonderful for residents. It'd be wonderful for clients. And then now this year, 75% of our inventory is brand new construction, right? Literally, 500 houses. We're going to build, probably 500 houses next year. And that started from us trying this new innovative thing that nobody had ever done starting in 2011. And then, townhomes was another thing that we brought to the forefront. That was probably 2014 or so. We started to build new construction townhomes, and we were able to prove that model. We owned it ourselves. We were able to rent it out. We were able to prove that model. And now our clients love townhomes, right? Because we were able to do that sort of innovative iteration. There have been 2 or 3 other examples. And this is really, we look at this as it's a necessity for us to do so that we can provide a runway for clients. And some of them really work out, like the couple of examples that I just shared with you. Some of them don't. We don't talk about those as much. But this is critical for us to go through this iterative and innovative process so that we can stay committed to Jacksonville, which is where we want to be.
I love it, man. I think it's really refreshing to see such an old school industry, which is construction, which is real estate, that often doesn't really innovate, right? Like I left the construction industry directly correlated to the lack of innovation that people were open to. And it's really interesting to see a company like JWB that can just very easily go to the bank, do this stuff over and over again, and create this amazing returns for clients and just be there. You guys are young. You're going to make some money in the next 20 years and not really worry about 30, 40, 50 years out, right? So I think it's really, really refreshing to see that a company like JWB has an R&D department, right? Like you're like 3M is out there trying to develop new adhesives. You're out there developing new innovative real estate projects. Mm-hmm. And I think it's very, very normal and sane to think that you're going to fail on at least half of those, but all you really need is like a small percentage to do really well. And all of a sudden you create your own category like you have done in the turnkey rental income, new construction thing that's landed you on the front cover of the Wall Street Journal. I also think from an investor standpoint, if you're, like the question that was just asked, right? Like, is my money going into this stuff? I would love to hear, can you give an example of one of these projects that failed and how you were able to insulate the investor and the rest of the, what your hedgehog is from, being able to isolate that into your R&D department and it not affecting your investors. Can you talk a little bit about the failures?
I mean, we could talk about this project, this project right here. I mean, if we were testing this out as a new thing that we were going to sell to clients, I mean, we have had clients literally calling left and right saying, hey, I would love to invest in one of these. I would love to invest in one of these. We could have easily figured this out, put a sales price on it, and then sold that property, right? But Alex just told us that we thought that the cost for this was going to come into at like 50 or 60 grand, right? If we just put a markup on top of that or whatever, and then just sold it based on the markup over what the cost was, the client would have ended up being really hurt here because the cost came in at 90 grand, almost double, like, right? And that's real. I mean, that's how a lot of companies go about this, right? They don't have enough invested, call it in their R&D department, right? They don't have enough invested in their, department of what's coming next, so that when the time comes that they need to generate revenue, they see the next shiny object that can generate revenue, and then they package it up, they put a bow on it, and they sell it to investors. Very rarely does that company actually buy it, actually put their own money into it, actually rent it out, actually go through all the financing challenges themselves, actually manage the properties for years before they actually sell it. I mean, this is very common for turnkey rental property companies that go to other markets, right? I was just listening to another turnkey rental property company who was just talking about how they're just getting licensed in another state and they're going to be offering inventory next week or whatnot, right? To me, that means that they haven't actually proved that out yet. They're testing it on their clients, and every real estate market is different. Your contractor base is different. The way that you acquire the properties is different, right? The management, the rules and regulations are different. The type of residents are different, right? So, we don't want to do that. So in order to do that, we have to go through this process years and years in advance. And that's why Katie, who helped us out with the question of city water or septic, or sewer or septic, she's on what we call Team Alex. There's Team Alex at JWB, and it's Alex Island, right? And Alex's Island is separate from the hedgehog of JWB, and it has to be, because they're going to have incredible wins on Alex Island, and then they're going to have some that they're going to fail. And that's totally cool, as long as we insulate our clients from it, as long as we insulate our team from it. And our team is totally focused on our hedgehog, which is turnkey properties in our 4 major neighborhoods here in Jacksonville that we've done thousands of times over the years.
I think that's really, really well explained. And it reminds me of the idea that, I don't know if it's Google or another one of these tech companies that have they went out and created just a moonshot factory, right? Like, and they incentivize everybody to fail, right? Like, they're just like, if you can bring me how many times you fail, like they like glorify people for it and whatnot, because they know that if you hit on one of these things, it creates this ordinary return, but everything else is completely isolated from, the cash flows, the team, right? The psychology of it. Like, I love that you contain it all on Alex Island. It's pretty brilliant. We have a couple other like technical questions here that I kind of don't want to, put you up to. I guess we could just go through it. And
I'm happy to be the least smart guy in the room. So there you go. If I don't know the answer, I'll get it for you. As you can tell, Alex is the real brains behind the project, and he's going to know a lot more of the details than I do. So
yeah. You live on the mainland, not on not on Alex Island, right? So let's run through these, Greg, and I think we can set you on your way. This has been really cool, man. But let's ask these. Mike Foster asks, will the lower level residents hear the clanging of metal as people above walk? Generally, how would sound be handled from one unit to the next?
I can definitely tell you that's been thought through. I would imagine that's not going to be an issue. The amount of engineering that's had to go into these units is just insane. It's really led to the costs. So I don't think that's going to be an issue at all.
Okay, cool. And coming from construction, right? Like, there's multiple ways of skinning that cat, right? There's like carpet padding, there's spray foam insulation that you can put on the underside. There's all sorts of different products that happen. But yes, I would, I'm not intimate with like the details of this, but yeah, Mike, that is very easy to handle. Marilyn Cotterman asks, is one of the JWB teams doing the interior or other general / subcontractor work? Or is this, totally outsourced to a completely different team and you're just overseeing it?
I don't know. Maybe Katie can chime in there. Katie Derringer is on Team Alex over there. She's got a lot of good questions, or a lot of good answers to these questions that are a little bit more specific. So Katie, feel free to chime in there. I know that, yeah, we're seeing Katie chiming in. She's chimed in with the spray installation. So
She did.
man, she was
Yes,
on the same page with you there. So,
yeah, let's just put it out there. Katie responded. There is spray insulation between the units, a subfloor, insulation in the walls, etc., plus flooring on the subfloor. So there you go. So I did kind of nail that, huh?
And then just had another one in there.
That's right. Katie answers your question. Our general contractor is doing the interior construction, walls, fixtures, etc. We hired a vendor to do interior design for the short-term rental units and decorate them. So sounds like you're using all your resources and all your might.
There you go.
Right. Greg, this was cool, man. I'm glad we did this. It's always fun to, number one, have Alex in here as the wild card. It's really fun. Like I said, on a personal level, I find it really, really fun to be able to dive into this like innovative world that I think JWB is the only one in this industry that really exists in. And to me, that is why from the moment that you and I engaged and I was trying to figure out our marketing message, I'm like, I think JWB has its own category, right? Like you're not just your quintessential real estate investing fund. You are not a house flipper. You're not just a general contractor or whatever. You guys really have figured out a way to incorporate the steady income and long-term stability of rental income properties and the ease of use of a widget for investing, man. And to be able to peek behind the curtain and see that, not only do you have to operate as efficiently as you do, but you also have to operate as unconventionally as you do in certain areas.
Right.
And to be able to see that as a guy that loves business and innovation and marketing and whatever, and loves to tell a good story, man, this has been really, really fun for me, buddy. So I appreciate you sharing this. I appreciate everybody that's been here, that spent, 50 minutes with us on a Tuesday afternoon. That's never taken for granted. Our usual folks that show up every call, Mike, Marilyn, Lee, Jake, Zach, Sean, I'm happy to have you. Pratap, send us a hello. I didn't get to reach out to you, Pratap. Welcome here. Cheryl is a new attendee for us. She says, great approach to innovation and operations. So I just think it's really cool. I want to encourage everybody to join us on Thursdays where we actually do the JWB rental income property of the week.
Week.
And we go through the hedgehog, right? We break down the actual investment, the numbers behind it, the stuff that Greg will really be able to answer every single question on, I promise. And
there's a lot that are going into this, and I'm like, there's gonna be a lot of these questions that I just don't know the answer to. Thank you so much to Katie Derringer for being our ace up our sleeve and helping with some of the answers there that I just don't know. But yes, I'm excited about Thursday too. I mean, it's really cool for you guys to get a glimpse of what's coming next within JWB, because if we didn't have this what's coming next department, we would be like every other turnkey company who would be struggling with inventory, who would have no other choice than to go to Sheboygan and all these other crazy places out there to do this. So it's it's an asset to our clients. It's an asset to the hedgehog that we have here. That's how we look at Alex and Adam Riegel and Katie. They are a key to our success, not just today, but for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road. So it's cool to bring that to you guys. On Thursday, we'll get back into our normal kind of hedgehog approach that I know you guys know and love. When we look at our rental properties of the week, we use those as a breakdown opportunity for those who may be investing right now or who may be a little bit of time away and you want to go through a trial run. That's the feedback that I've received more than anything. Is I love going through that and kind of putting myself in the hot seat before I need to actually pull the trigger. So we would love for you all to be there Thursday at 12:30. And it's been quite a ride here today. So I appreciate you guys being with us.
It's been great. And I'm glad you said Thursday at 12:30 because Cheryl just asked, what time is the Thursday program? Good news, Cheryl, because you registered for this, you're going to get reminders of all the different live shows, and you'll be able to pick out which ones you want to join and which ones you don't. But yes, every Tuesday, every Thursday, we're here at 12:30 p.m. You can have lunch with us. You can learn a little bit about real estate. And if you want to go back and see the webinar, you go to jwbwebclass.com and you'll be able to download the investor kit that includes the property breakdown that we're going to be going through, not the property itself, but the sheet that's used to break down properties and analyze the investment. And if you want to book a call with our team to find out if this is a good asset for you, go to chatwithjwb.com. Super easy. Until then.
And check us out tonight in the group. I'm going to do the watch party. This is great for all of you who maybe missed a little bit here and there. We're going to be replaying today's episode in the watch party tonight at 9:00. I'll be there, be answering the questions. Hopefully Katie Derridge will be there too, so she can answer questions as well. But yeah, hope to see you guys there. If you're a member of the group, it'll show up on your notifications. If not, go to jwbfacebookgroup.com and join the group.
All right.
See you
on Facebook, everybody.